Hi, happy Wednesday. I was supposed to say Thursday. It's October 25th, Wednesday, and we are here. Give me 1 second. Sorry.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, good to go. How's it going, Brad? I'm so
Doing
sorry.
good, man. Doing good. The
How?
wifey's in the chat, I see. Very
Oh yeah,
nice.
she is in the chat. She might be on her way home now. I'm not sure, but yeah. How's your week been?
Pretty good. Pretty good. It's I was thinking I was thinking a good bit this week about uh like different ways to do business because when for us like when markets shift, our clients from 2 years ago may not be our target client now. So
Hmm.
just like different ways um, to look for business, different opportunities for business.
Yeah.
And since I've mentioned before on this show, since we've had such an influx of people moving here from other states, I'm like, you know what? Maybe I need to start targeting agents who live in like, here's uh, the four places that are sending uh, residents to my area, and then
Yeah.
target agents in those areas and see if we can form a partnership. Um, so I've just been like trying to, in a shift, you try to think about different ways to do business, and that's advice that not only applies to us, but also really like any business. Always be looking for different ways to do business to grab larger market share. Maybe that's we talk a lot about that in what we do is grabbing market share. And I heard a couple of weeks ago that in the last year 100,000 real estate agents have gotten out of the business in the last year. So it's like, okay, well, there may or may not be less business, but you want a bigger piece of the pie, so you've got to position yourself to get a bigger piece of that pie. So I've been spending a lot of time on that and trying to just market listings and stuff like that, trying to move stuff. How's your week been?
It was okay. Talking about like kind of expanding your business and getting busier when it's slow. I think so I did a first time home buyer class on Saturday, and we had a couple signups, but they no showed. So I feel like it's okay. A little disappointing, but then you just kind of have to reflect. So my realtor and I took some time to kind of go over some things that may help us market, kind of go over what we intend going forward. And we actually made some productivity out of it. And then I got a call after the class was over, the closed class, about a potential purchase. So things happen, and you can dwell on it, or you can use it as kind of an opportunity, right? And it's fine. I think we'll be better prepared for the next one. But I think for both of us, seasonality comes into play, right? It's especially here. It's kids are in the middle of school, so it's harder for people to move. And then it's cold here in Seattle, Edmonds area, so people don't really want to go out and look at open houses as often as they want to because it rains and the weather's kind of lame and all that stuff. So, but I feel like this is a good time for realtors and mortgage people to get more active, whether that be just sending out thank you cards or going through flyers and sending those out, all that type of stuff. I think it's important to kind of keep more active during these like slower times. The next 5 months are going to be really challenging, I think, for both of our industries, but specifically for like me as a lender, because of I think there's a lot of uncertainty out there. We had the 10-year hit 5%, the other day, and that's not going to help mortgage rates or interest rates in general. That's the highest it's been since 2007.
Which
Reality
also
is,
people hear that number and that they reflect back to, oh, we must be getting ready to experience a crash.
right? Yeah, and I think a lot of people are waiting for that. Like I read a survey that 63% of this survey of 1,000 people said that they welcome a crash if it means lower interest rates. I thought that was just the weirdest thing, right? It's like your favorite baseball team or football team hoping they lose all their games so they get the first pick next year, right? But it's like there's multiple teams that have the first pick.
Great example.
Yeah.
Yes, great
So
example. Yeah, I would rather my team not have the first pick. It's an indicator of what their last season was like. So,
yeah.
how about the last pick? That's the one you want, really, is the
Right.
last pick.
Right. If you're a Seahawk fan, we were kind of synonymous for trading our first round picks for like years. So we didn't have a first round pick for like ever. So we were all out of the first round in general. So anyway, but
I think that's smart. Your approach, and it usually takes, so like, again, for any business, your activity now is you usually see that in like 3 to 3, 4, 5 months from now. So whatever you're putting in action now, you'll see the fruit of that. It'll take, it takes like, 3 or 4 months, 5 months to really see the benefit of it. So
yeah,
it's smart to get in there and start doing that. I'll tell you something I'm doing now that's kind of interesting is embracing like holidays that people usually don't get cards for. So I'm sending out Halloween cards.
Oh, that's cool. I like
Yeah,
that.
and just like, hey, happy Halloween, thanks for your business. Don't hesitate to call me if I can be of service, or if you know someone who's looking to buy or sell a home, and throw a business card in there and send it out. It's in like a bright orange envelope, so it really stands out in the mail. I just think people still like to get that stuff. As much of a digital environment that we live in now, people still like to have something tangible, handwritten. I mean, I don't have the best handwriting, but it's from the heart, I promise.
Yeah, no, I have horrible handwriting, and it feels good to kind of get that out there too. I've been thinking about doing a lot of flyers that our marketing team has and sending those out during kind of these colder months, and people are, and actually, I was on, or I got the mail the other day, and I thought this was a really cool strategy, for a bathroom fitter or whatever you want to call it. I got a flyer that says it was from a bathroom fitter, so they do like showers or whatnot, and they said, we just did your neighbor's bathroom for a reduced amount. You can either get no payments until 2025 or $1,500 off before like November or something or whatever. But I took it, showed it to my wife, and we're gonna think about it. So I thought that was a really, really cool way to say, hey, we did good work for your neighbor. Maybe you could go over there and knock on their door, and
live,
it worked for
live,
me.
Live. Kind of get their take. Like, what's up, Brad? Kingdom of Nerds. Thanks for good to see you, man. Just kind of live. Like, hey, what was your experience like? Obviously you have to have good customer service I can't imagine they would send that out if they didn't have excellent service, and a good review. So thanks. I appreciate we appreciate you stopping by, man. We'll it's a good channel there too to check out.
Oh yeah. So, every Monday and Friday. Yeah, they got
good stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's you've got to have good customer service that's pretty ballsy move if you don't have, if you're not on, so you got to have all your P's and Q's and in order to do that. But that's an excellent idea. So it might have worked on you guys then.
It may have, and then we looked at the prices are lower out of our range. So, but no, I mean, it got us interested. It was a good, it was something physical we could touch. I just threw it away, but I held on to it for a week. So, I mean, to me, that's like, man, I need to get on some like flyers, just send them out to people and just, put my face out there, all that.
Did you go to YouTube and see if there's a DIY on how to do what they were offering?
I did. And I am about like, I was like, there's no way I could do that. That's way too, they're getting like the plumbing and all that stuff. I don't want to touch that. So, anyway, yeah. So yeah, I just thought it was a really cool, unique way to do business. And real quick, before we get into the slides today, I wanted to kind of show what the market's been doing lately. And if you can see here, Brad and the audience, we're under that 4,200 mark in the S&P 500, which I think is pretty critical. I'm not a technical trader, but I think just from the, the eye test there, if you're under 4,200, I think the market's starting to say, we're a little worried about rates and how they're going to affect the overall economy and just stocks in general. If you guys don't know what the S&P 500 represents, it's the 500 fastest growing companies in the world, or I guess the US markets. It's a barometer of how the economy is doing as well. And it's weighted differently. So different companies have more of an effect on it. Bigger companies, obviously, like Apple, Google, Alphabet, I guess, Nvidia, stocks we talked about. Stocks we'll talk about today are in this S&P 500. And it's more of a question now is the S&P 500, is this the floor, or is this like another level to the floor of like the psychological 4,100, or even less than that, 4,000? I don't know. It's going to be something that I think everyone should look at, especially with rates being so high going into the fourth quarter. We had a couple stocks like Google, for example. They actually were down on earnings reports this past week. That's having an effect on stuff, and I think people are just cutting back. So stuff to kind of look at and keep an eye on. How's the real estate market for you in your area? I mean, is it still holding pretty steady, or are you still seeing, are you seeing a drop off at all?
The hard thing for me to tell, I've got 2 listings, and the activity picked up. It was a little slow moving. Like the first week, it was almost like I just spent it getting the word out there. Had a few showings. Next week, it was a little bit better. This week, it's been a little slow on those listings. One of them I thought was really going to move quickly. And the thing I don't know is how much of it is due to seasonality and how much of it is due to the actual market, because our inventory has changed, but it's nowhere near the numbers we talk about, So, no, Brad. No, not this is more like general real estate, but it's it's hard to answer that without. I think it's a little early to tell what the cause of. I think consumers are just cautious right now. Plus, there's a seasonality that's coming into play, and I don't know how to weigh that. But it is a little bit slower, and people are kind of taking their time. They're not seeing stuff. I guess maybe not seeing stuff disappear as quickly. Are you keeping an eye on that, or have you talked to anybody in your area about that?
I mean, definitely the past 2 weeks has been very silent on the end of people inquiring about a mortgage. So I don't know the prices per se, but I have seen condos, going back to market or reductions. You're kind of a tip that if there's a reduction, that's you kind of see blood in the water, that kind of deal. So it's mostly been in like condos or attached type of like properties. The single families are still doing okay, but like if it's a 2-bedroom, 1-bath, you're seeing some price reductions there, for sure. Just from listings I see. What I thought was crazy lately is this crypto market is really on a charge. I'm just flabbergasted about it. It's an enthusiastic thing. I think if you're in crypto, this is good stuff for you if you're a holder. We were seeing 26,000 in Bitcoin, and from all I've read, the move in crypto is primarily due to the SEC looking to approve a crypto, basically mutual fund or ETF that BlackRock is going to back. So what that means is if you're wanting to be like an investor in an ETF or a mutual fund, it's pretty close to that fruition versus buying crypto outright. It's a little more secure, and that's going to it's really going to flood some money into crypto because they're going to have to feed those investors all that. So this is really feeding the basis for this move in crypto, which I thought this is an actual like real move. This isn't like some TikTok YouTuber saying like, oh, kill all the, hedge funds that are shorting crypto. This is like actual, like BlackRock. They're a big institution. They're the biggest purveyor of ETFs in the world, and they are leading this run. And this is going to hit all types of crazy coins out there. So just something to keep an eye on. I thought that was very
check out that graph there. That spike.
It spiked big time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Jeez.
So anyway, just wanted to point out some things for everyone that's watching the show, either live or on the rewind, to keep an eye on and all that good stuff.
On that S&P. I'm recalling you mentioning that this was about where you wanted to see the S&P. Did you say like low 4,000?
Yeah. This is
41, somewhere around there.
4,100 was like something I was very comfortable with the 10-year being so high and where it's at. Now it's kind of like, okay, do you look at opportunities to get into the S&P? Like, do you start buying back stock? I think it's a little too early at this point still. Just you still want to see those earnings reports come in. But yes, you are correct. That psychological level of 4,100, 4,000, it's almost at play. And I think that's what the Fed, if I was a betting man, is also looking at as well. I think real estate, they can't really control that, but until rates for their 30-year mortgage start to come down. But I think them seeing that equities are starting to come down a lot in a very fast pace, they may stop rising rates at the end of the year. So that's good for everybody, I think. So yeah,
because it's amazing on that Bitcoin, like what good news does. Like that's the response to good news.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't seen a ton of, like when we've had good news. Okay, we're not going to raise rates. Yeah, but you might next time. You didn't say you weren't going to stop raising rates. You just said you're not going to do it now, and it's just had this ongoing effect. And I was pretty oblivious to that until we started doing this and you started talking about it. But just kind of keeping an eye on it because of the things that you've been mentioning. It's really interesting to see. I mean, good news has a positive effect, and we are due for some good news.
Yeah. Hold on one second. I just gotta change this real quick. Yeah, I mean, and it's I think it's more of a fascinating thing to watch because you're seeing the money move from other asset classes to this very new asset class that's I think we're still learning about the past decade. So I just thought it was something that monitor, because it's like Jim Cramer always says there's a bull market somewhere. And as you could see, I mean, the S&P was down 600 points or 60 points today. However, Bitcoin is up. I mean, it was up 1,200 earlier. This is the real time market, right? So just good stuff to look at.
I like that overview at the beginning there. Maybe we can sprinkle that in occasionally when you see something that's worth looking at. That was really cool. A lot of red though. When I saw the red, it scared me.
Yeah, a lot of red, man. A lot of red. It's okay though. I mean, like this is either a buying opportunity for stocks that you like, or just maybe a buying entry into stocks that you're on the kind of on the fence about too. So let's see here. All right, present. There we go. All right, again, thanks everyone for coming through. If you hit that like button, tell your friends, subscribe. We're at 47 subs, so we grew a sub in the past couple weeks. For being away for a long time, that's good news for us. I think trying to get to that 50 before the end of the year, hopefully, and just trying to keep people informed, all that good stuff. So I appreciate everyone coming through. Ask questions as much as you can. Like we will answer them right away, I feel. So yeah, come through and ask all the questions you want. Today we're going to talk about risky stocks. I know risky stocks, and I mean we just talked about how the S&P is down 60 points today, but just something to, I know people you want to get that $5 stock and flip it to 25 in 2 months, that kind of thing. Well, let's take a look at some. It's more of a fun thing to look at, I guess, in today's markets. Look at some West Coast real estate. Your credit tip of the day, and Brad's The More You Know 5 DIY ideas, which I am going to, I promise, like I always do, did not look at these. I'm wondering if I had these on my plate already. So I'm very interested for
This,
these.
yeah, it's a little bit, so it's a little bit different than what I've done over the last couple weeks. This is just
Mhm,
like easy ways for like a quick hit, like just
mhm.
really easy things you can do to give that instant like. Tell me if you're this way. When I do something in it, does not have to be like I'm still impressed with your shower remodel, but because I would never even attempt it. But it does not take me much to feel a sense of pride about doing something. I mean,
Mhm.
the simplest of things, when you step back and look at your handiwork, even as simple as the stuff that I can do, I'm like, all right, it's a good day. Let's celebrate. Let's but it just makes you, it's just stuff that'll an instant hit, or just like little things that I, like, but none of this stuff is really expensive. I mean, it's really cheap ways to enhance your dwelling. Doesn't necessarily have to be a home, could be your apartment or whatever, but this is all stuff that a lot of this stuff you can apply. So
Uh,
yeah.
I appreciate that sentiment. I was stoked about putting a freaking doorknob in. So I mean,
Yeah.
it took me like a half hour. I was like, I could put a freaking bathroom together. I can't do a damn goddamn doorknob. Um, but it was more so that the doorknob wasn't fitting, so I had to go to your Lowe's, Home Depot, and get one of those like it's basically like a mold kind of thing, and you they give you like this little like a saw, circular saw, and you attach it to your drill and just press it through. That was the hardest part about it. I've also been using caulking for like the in between your door frame. That's very satisfying as well, and it looks really good. So wifey likes it, so that's all that matters,
Hey,
right?
that's all that matters.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so first three stocks I'm talking about, and here's the funny thing: I've talked bad about the CEO of the first company, MicroStrategy, but this company is entirely tied to the price of Bitcoin. So not Ethereum, not Pepe, not any of your crazy like meme coins. It specifically ties to the price of Bitcoin. What I mean by that is, as Bitcoin goes up, MicroStrategy goes up. And real quick, I'll show you what MicroStrategy did to the past couple weeks. Now, this is an extremely risky play.
I remember you
Extremely
talking
risky.
about
Yeah,
them. What
yeah.
can you remind me what they do again?
So they were service based, like service as a uh, service based software company. I don't know exactly what the premise of the company was, but there's cloud, technology, like a CRM type of like product. Well, during the pandemic and kind of all that, the CEO had to make drastic kind of changes to make money, basically. And so this company has turned into essentially a software based company, and now it's almost like a hedge fund.
Oh, because they invested a bunch of money in
Yeah.
Bitcoin. He was one of the bad CEOs in that, which if you haven't seen, go to our YouTube channel. You
Yeah.
can see all the past episodes. But that episode was like really, really entertaining. So he was what the bad boy CEO episode. So that
Yeah,
was
yeah. The don't follow the CEO episode,
right.
right? Yeah, essentially. So at the time of that episode, I think this stock was around 280 a share. So like look at the movement. This stock's almost up. I mean, it's up $100 since the 19th. So that was 6 days ago. And if you compare Bitcoin, which I don't know if I can or not. I don't know if I can. Let's try. No, that's not it. BITC. Okay, Coinbase. There we go. So the green is Bitcoin essentially, and I mean it's moving in tandem with Bitcoin. You can kind of see the arrows. I don't want to go over it too much, but so super risky. But if you bought this stock 6 days ago, you're up 100 points. So for people that follow Bitcoin and want to not outright buy Bitcoin, but want to buy a stock that simply correlates with it, it's extremely risky, but MSTR or MicroStrategy, yeah, MSTR is the stock to go for. Brad, if you were up 100 points in 6 days, would you A, would you sell at this point? B, sell maybe half and then hold on to another? Or C, would you say, if it goes down 25 points, then I'll sell?
Yeah, I'd probably want to ride I think the gambler in me would want to ride the wave a little bit, because if you're up and then if you see a shift down, you're still up, but
Mhm.
not quite as much. And
Right.
just see, because I mean, what happens if these, what happens if all this comes to fruition? What is
Mhm.
this stock? I mean, you've got to, I don't know, I think you've got to kind of ride the wave, and see what happens. I'm very conservative, but if I was up, I would kind of maybe feel like I was playing with house money a little bit. So
Sure. Sure.
just kind of check it and see what would you do?
So I first off would say I'd ask myself what was the reason I bought MicroStrategy at 327. And if it was just based on a whim, I'd probably sell at this point. Now, if it was like because I think Bitcoin's going to hit 40K because of the SEC ruling coming up in the next month or so, I'd hold on to all of my shares. If I was kind of pessimistic about it or didn't have enough information to make that decision, I'd probably sell half and then I'd put a stop. So basically, you can put what's called a stop loss order on your stocks um, at 25 points less. So I'd put a stop loss at 400 points or $400 on that MSTR stock. And then at that point, it's like, well, I didn't make the full 100, but at least the other shares that I had a 75-point gain, and I'll find the next hot stock to invest in.
So that's basically just telling your broker or whatever that,
Mhm.
hey, when it hits this point, this is when I want to get out. Or
Yeah.
if it hits this point, that's when I
Right.
want to get out. That
Yeah.
way you're not required to be paying attention. Um, because I mean, you wouldn't get anything done. You just sit there
You just sit
and then
there
sit
and
there on the
watch
computer, like watching and see what happened. I mean,
press refresh, press
oh
refresh.
gosh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That's
So
cool. Yeah.
yeah. So I think that's just a general rule in any stock that you have. Like you have to find a reason why you got into it. And sometimes people just get lucky and they're like, oh shoot, I caught this 100-point wave in MSTR. But if you just got lucky, cash your chips in, man. And just move on to the next stock or just sit back and wait for S&P 500, 4100. So um
That's
next
probably what I would really do, is like kind of,
Mhm.
if the SEC approved that, then um, maybe get involved in that realm instead
Yeah.
of.
Yeah. Everybody has like, it's kind of like, the MCU, like comic book stuff that we get into. It's like, okay, um, I was talking about on the show on Sunday, like Loki has come out, but none of the Loki comic books have really performed. And so at this point, I feel like that narrative is not really a narrative anymore until it is again. Um, you have to kind of find out what works for the market as well, because ultimately you don't make money until you sell the stock, right? And I always think you should always have a philosophy when you're investing in something, and then once that philosophy is no longer, then that's the time you need to get out of the stock. All that. The next stock I want to talk about is Lululemon. I would say this isn't really a quote unquote risky stock. It's just highly valued, and if there is a downturn in the economy, then people are going to stop buying yoga pants, right? Going into the Christmas season, I think this is a good retail play. Their management is really good. They have really good, kind of what do you call it? Uh, Production. They don't produce too much high quality stuff. The rich are always going to want to buy stuff from Lululemon. Um, this stock performed pretty well. Its past earnings, it had a 25-point increase in its earnings last time, and it's at 394.80 a share. Again, this is it's kind of a risky stock to hold on to with rates being so high and maybe the consumer slowing down. We don't know about the consumer, so just kind of keep an eye on that. Have you ever it's funny that the first time I ever thought about buying this stock is I just saw a bunch of girls wearing Lululemon yoga pants, and I was like, huh, never heard of this company before. It must be really popular with like, the females. And so I
I,
bought
I
into it.
I like how intuitive you are about that. Like seeing you explore, you ask questions based on what other people like. I remember the story about your niece, and there's particular type of lip gloss that she liked.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
that company was like, it's
Bananas.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's really yeah, I mean, I embrace the yoga pants fad. I'm a fan of it. Um, but good quality. I could also see. So it's not. I'm not a fan for myself, but but I could see that's something. It's got you got to have a quality product. So
Hmm.
it's um they saw an opportunity there and jumped in and kind of now it's like it never ends, man. It's always like whether it's um Polo or Lacoste or like we never stop wanting the name brand like thing. It's like, and even these the people who buy their products, I mean it's a name brand product, it's quality, it's synonymous with quality, and people you want to make sure people see the tag. So obviously they've done well, but I think that's really interesting that you're intuitive in that you see what other people like, and it's you're just like not into inquisitive.
Hmm.
Inquisitive is the word I was looking for.
Sure.
You're inquisitive when you see people like something. I wonder what the deal is with that. And
No, yeah.
so,
Yeah, appreciate that.
yeah,
I think the other thing too about these companies that are high quality, like I'm gonna go back to Apple and we'll talk about Costco too. It's a lifestyle. It's not Kleenex. It's not tissue. It's Kleenex. And it's I think Lulu does a really good job with creating a community and kind of like a need where it's more of a luxury. Honestly, I have I've heard that their quality versus like a regular like other brand, it's inferior. Like
really,
Lululemon just has like they're just really good quality stuff. And I think I want to say like I've almost bought some stuff there actually for my wedding. Um, but they didn't have my size and the cut wasn't very like where I wanted to. But the fact that I thought about doing it um
so
was
what do they make for men? Were you
they
gonna
make they make like golf pants.
really? I didn't know
Mhm.
that. Huh?
Do you know the what was it? The coach for the Niners?
Yeah.
He wears Lululemon. He was wearing Lululemon pants the year they went to the Super Bowl.
How about that? Huh?
Yeah. So they're
They
very I
probably
mean they're
got him.
super
They probably sponsor him. He's probably got a whole closet full of them.
the funny thing was is like they didn't. I don't know if it
Huh?
has like NFL regulations or whatever, but yeah, like he was running around in his like they kept talking about during the Super Bowl or someone kept talking about it. I can't remember, but
That's
um
interesting.
yeah.
Well, it's
So
smart to shift gears because when you're just how many pairs of yoga pants can someone have before you have to say, look, we're catering to a portion of the population. We might need to
expand a little bit.
expand some, yeah, branch
Yeah.
out and like what are those what are those what do the husbands like to do if the wives like to do yoga? Not that men can't do yoga, but obviously golf and hey, well, you're going to yoga. I'm going to go tee off with the
Yeah,
boys
yeah.
and
Yeah.
let's so that's yeah, that's cool. I think that's smart, man.
Yeah.
That is really smart.
And it's always hard to like transition from like one sex to another, right? Like, you know, do you do a full like kind of range of like tops, shorts, all that? And they did a really good job with just kind of slowly introducing like stuff and then taking stuff out that doesn't work out. Again, that's great management. So, um,
And having because what women like and what men like are very different. So you've got
right.
to have the proper insight to cater to be able to cater to those people. It's not the way you market to each is so different. That's really interesting.
Yeah, thanks, man. And last but not least, kind of off brand, but this really, again, this is kind of a risky stock right now because of it's going to be attuned to the economy. Um, Remitly, I don't know if I'm doing that correctly, but when I was over in the Philippines this past year, we had some issues getting some like money from one currency to another. And I said, well, I can send the money. I can go to Western Union, but there's like a huge 1% fee. And I was like, if I can avoid that, like I'd be totally okay with it. And my cousin suggested like, well, why don't you send me Remitly? I'm like, what's that? And she's like, well, it's how people overseas will send money to like us or other, countries or whatever. And so think of Remitly as kind of like the Venmo of international or PayPal. It's a smaller company, so that's why I say it's a little risky, but it's emerging in emerging markets. So what I also noticed over being in the Philippines, it's I guess you'd call it like, people call it third world, but I don't really feel it's that way, at least not anymore. It's really changed over the past 5 years. Everyone has an iPhone, everyone has a smartphone in general. And everyone's just down on their phone. It wasn't like that 5 years ago. I mean, if you had money, you probably had like that stuff, but it's a lot more commonplace to accept, credit cards or, currency is like not as like needed as it was before. And so I thought like, well, there's still some growth opportunity, not only in like countries like the Philippines, but perhaps Vietnam, perhaps even in Mexico, where I'll be going next week on vacation for a week. And just other emerging markets that are kind of reverting from this cash only society to a cashless society. Now, if you can get on early into a company like that, you could invest in the next app. I want to say Apple, like as far as like company wise, but like growth wise, that could be the next thing. Have you ever run into a situation like going abroad and be like, shoot, how am I going to get cash? Or like only brought this much money with me, but I have, quite a substantial amount of money. But I need cash. Have you ever run into that situation before?
I haven't. It's really interesting that's I could see them getting bought. Like
I know. Yeah.
I could really see them getting bought. I mean, if
Hmm.
they're looking to, everything's for sale for the right price. They may not be looking to sell, but if you throw enough, like why why wouldn't a Venmo or a PayPal or somebody like that? Because PayPal is eBay, right? eBay owns. Do they own PayPal now?
They split a long time
Oh, they
ago.
split. Okay.
Yeah, split
Um.
apart. Yeah.
So yeah, why? I could see one of them buying that though. That would be. But I haven't run. No, I've usually had like I don't know what I did. I've been to some remote some remote areas before, but I guess I
Hmm.
just had cash or maybe it was barter system. Maybe I um, traded some stuff for the things I needed or paid up
Sure.
front. I didn't really have, it was so remote I didn't need cash.
Hmm.
I'll tell you about that one of these post streams one day. But that's really interesting. So you were introduced to it out of necessity.
Yeah, I mean, and a lot of times, I mean, like, people always ask me, like, "Oh, well, how do you figure out these companies?" It's just out of chance, really, sometimes, and then you kind of go down a rabbit hole. But everyone that I talked to had this app, and I just never. I was shocked. I never heard about it before, and so this stock trades around 20 to 25 bucks a share. Um, Now, if there's a tanking in the U.S. economy, it's going to hit everyone, right? Another thing too, I didn't talk about, but I'll mention it right now. Bill Ackman, he's an activist investor. Well, he was shorting bonds the other day, like big time, like by billions of dollars. Well, he covered a short this past weekend. What that means is he basically he stopped the trade, so he closed it. And the main concern he had was because if we have potential World War III going on, which we talked about last week, or a recession, which is, I mean, those two things could happen both at the same time. Where's the money going to go? It's going to go to bonds because it's a flight to safety, right? The Fed's not going to do anything. They're not going to need to do anything because everyone's going to panic. They're going to sell off their stock. They're going to sell off whatever, what have you, and they're going to go into bonds. And so if that is the case, then these 3 stocks won't do so well. To be quite honest, that would be kind of my assumption in a normal kind of recession type economy. But yeah, it's kind of a scary thing that he pointed out, and especially that he covered his bond trade that I don't think he was up a ton on. It's it's a little scary. So anyway, but yeah, those are my 3 stocks.
Nice.
Yeah. And you're kind of my inspiration. I know I've talked about buying lots before and I presented them, but I found this really cool. So I'm going back to Prosser. That's my wife's and my in-laws' hometown. It's it's kind of like our mini Napa Valley in Washington. There's areas there's actually a lot of wine that's actually bottled here too. But this is 4.91 acres in the middle of Washington, about 3 hours east of Seattle, for 200,000. Now, these little lines here are conceptual. It's not actually how the vacant land is set up, but potentially they're kind of pitching it. So you could build, I mean, is it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 houses, 7 or 8 houses on this plot of land for 200K in Washington, even though it's middle, like Eastern Washington. I feel like it's close enough to Seattle where people will be like, yeah, I wouldn't mind staying there in an Airbnb. Or just for us, it'd be just having like some land in my wife's hometown and possibly building on it eventually. But I thought of you in this because I think you'd be like all over this about developing and all that good stuff. So
yeah, that's really cool. When I was, because I always have to look at this is the only slide I look at because it determines what I select
right.
for my piece of this. And I read the words that it was, it's not already subdivided or anything. So this is just an idea that you could. So if you wanted to say, well, I don't want to do this much, I want 2 pieces of that to build a house on. I wonder what the land was used for that they have already like completely cleared it. And I also wonder what I would imagine there's public water and sewer available.
Yeah, I want next time I'm there, I'm gonna take a look at this, but I guess it's 9 lots is what it is. But yeah, totally conceptual, right? Like it'd be kind of risky, but for 200K, I thought it was like a pretty good deal because they're building new homes in this area. It's growing quite a bit for what it was about a couple years ago, and the homes that they're selling for in this area, they go for like 4.25 to 500,000, and they're selling pretty good. I don't know how much it would cost to actually build a home out here, but 200,000 for the land. You put 9 homes out there, keep 2 of them, and sell the other 7. That might be a developer's dream right there. I don't know. Well, I guess we'll see. The taxes are really cheap over there too. I think that's a big thing too when you're buying a house. Like, yeah, the house price is great, but if your taxes are a lot, then it's going to offset, the cheapness of the home cost itself, right? So anyway,
and that was where like helping Brian LCS and the missus relocate here. So in New York, the taxes were close. He said it was close to $11,000 a year for taxes, and here it's like $2,500. So it's like
a year.
I said a year.
Oh, wow.
So I said, well, there's because I told him in the beginning, I don't think it really sunk in until you start seeing the numbers. It doesn't sink in. But I said, dude, you're going to move here and feel like you got a raise. And sure enough, he's starting to see like what I meant by that. But he said, hey, more. I said, what slabs are you going to buy, or go on more vacations, or that's good. That's important. You're so close to stuff now, an hour and a half to the mountains, hour and a half to the beach. So there, Brad, I did plug
South Carolina,
South Carolina a little bit there. So,
I know.
But I really like that idea. It's um, if you could figure out a way to do it instead of selling lots and letting somebody else do it, I think that is really intriguing to
Yeah.
like figure out how to. I'm getting ready. We'll see. One of my listings now is I helped this guy buy 110 acres, and it was like less than $350,000. So he built his house on about 15 of the acres, and that part had a pond. And then the rest was there's a an access road that cuts up through that acreage so somebody can get to the land behind them. And so that kind of naturally divided it. So I told him, I said, man, this is kind of set up perfect for you where you put a house on this side with a pond, and then you can figure out what you want to do with the rest of this stuff. And so that's one of the conversations we're going to have once the house that he moved from sells, is we're going to sit down and start talking about, hey, what do I need to do to, like, how do you do this? Like, but I told him, I said, you've got, so if you used less than 20 of the acres, you got 70 to 80 more you can do something with. So
Right.
I think, it could, when he bought it, he told me, I don't know what his plan is. I know what my plan with his land is, or my involvement. But he said, yeah, we're going to do a lot of business together. So I'm like, hey, that was just really exciting, to the prospect of doing something like that. So hopefully that would be an opportunity for you to that's like a life-changing thing, if you can get to the point where you can do something like that.
Yeah, I think it'd be really cool. I don't know if we will do it. It'd probably have to be like a family thing, but like I was gonna shoot this link over to my relatives and just tell them about it, but maybe I'll do that after the holidays.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
We'll do get to the point where you're where you just do, if you bought that and you just took one piece, do one piece. It'd be difficult for anybody starting out to do multiple, but
right.
if you do one piece, I'm going to go ahead and subdivide one lot
Mm-hmm.
and and do that, because the rest is, well, right now that land is agricultural, so your
Right.
taxes are much lower than they will be when it's a residential, or
Exactly.
should be. So
Yeah.
yeah, that would be really interesting though.
Cool. I'll let you know.
So
I'll let you know if we
yeah,
bite.
right. So based on that, I found this. This is in Lexington, South Carolina. It's a suburb of it's probably, I don't know, 20 minutes from Columbia proper. And this is the area I grew up in, Lexington. So it's
Okay.
16 acres, and they've
Mhm.
got several of these lots. The one I took this information from was it was lot 14, 16.2 acres for
Wow.
$159,900. And it's got a it says a pretty, what did it say, aggressive creek, like a good, really nice flowing creek that lines up the back. So where that green is, there's a creek that
Mm.
runs along the back edge of the property. But it basically said, bring your guns, bring your four-wheelers. So you move out here, you might be hunting for your food and doing all that kind of stuff. So it's rural enough that you can, you could hunt on the land. You could, make some trails and do, that's what a lot of people will do. They'll take their four-wheelers and side by sides and stuff and go out to land and just ride and have fun, just have a good time out there. So yeah, I thought that was kind of interesting, but it did specifically say guns and four-wheelers. So welcome to the
Dream.
South.
That's
Yeah,
a dream, man.
if it's not your thing, it's okay. But that's it's certainly allowed if it is your thing. So
Sounds very similar to Prosser area. So uh one of her cousins has about I want to say almost an acre of land, and they built a barn. They got a basketball court, and they got a couple four wheelers. So I took the kids out there and played the uncle that just got them into trouble. It was a lot of fun riding around those four wheelers. But yeah, it actually sounds really, really similar. So I'm right there
yeah,
with you.
yeah.
Very cool, man. That is that's a lot of acreage to be able to possibly develop and all that good stuff. I like it. And I was kind of doing this during while we were talking about the credit tip of the day. I I've talked about this before, and there's a website called creditkarma.com. And I feel like if you want not so much monitoring of your credit score, but more so the opportunity for suggested cards to go to you, or like any financing opportunities to be suggested to you, go to creditkarma.com. And I don't know if I've talked about this in the past with them, but if you they'll what they'll do is they'll take kind of a snapshot of like your of all your credit cards, and they'll say, you know what, you should take all these credit cards because you're carrying a balance or whatever, and transfer it over to this 0% interest rate card for the next 18 months or whatever. And they'll say if you apply for it and you're not approved, they'll pay you $50. And so it's kind of one of those, like, I think the biggest thing with people is like they apply for credit and they're always worried that they're not going to get approved. This is kind of incentive to say, look, man, if you get declined, we'll pay you money. And I don't know if it's legitimate, because I mean, it's always worked out for me when I've applied for stuff. But one of the biggest things that people always have when they talk to me is like, oh, I'm worried that my credit's going to get hit, and or I'm not going to get approved and stuff. So this is kind of one of those things to alleviate you from that. I think it's just a good idea to kind of have another resource that maybe you don't need to talk to someone for that, but it's, you could kind of see where your balances are and where your credit, where kind of your credit standing is. And it's just kind of nice to have that. Do you use any of those credit monitoring like websites? Or would you ever think about doing it now that I've talked about it so many times or whatever?
I get an update from Credit Karma. Not
Cool.
that I'm not really actively looking, and I don't remember why I checked in the first. I think primarily because so many people will use that. It's like me telling someone, "Hey, you can get an idea of what your house is worth if you go to Zillow."
Mm-hmm.
It's not they're not going in the house. They're not doing as thorough of a market analysis as I would do but if you just want a rough idea, it's not a bad resource for that. And I think a lot of times with the Credit Karma, it's like it'll give you some idea of where things sit for you. And it's not like without actually pulling your credit. So I think I get updates from them just so I can kind of keep in touch with what my people are doing. But yeah, it's a pretty thorough, maybe scary, thorough way to keep up with, what's going on with your life. And I had a client who found out that an account she thought was closed. I think she saw it on there and
Mm-hmm.
realized it wasn't closed, and she thought it was closed. So, it does help you like kind of monitor that stuff to some degree. So
Right. Yeah, I like that. I like that. I like that part of it as well. So, anyway,
good
cool.
tip.
Yeah, thanks. Okay, let's get into your.
So I didn't really have any breaking news, but just a couple things that we're kind of keeping an eye on for real estate and finance related stuff is just that like jobs reports, and that Federal Reserve meeting, I believe, is on November 1st coming up, where they're going to decide like, hey, what's the next step? So we'll see. That's the kind of stuff we're going to be talking about here. I really didn't have anything I didn't want to delete the slide because I know I'm going to need it in the future, but just kind of keep an eye out if you want to do, if you're watching and want to kind of do your own, the types of things that we're talking about. These are two things that you can kind of keep an eye on in the news or get
Most
a
definitely. Yep.
update on, and you'll be right in line with what we're talking about. So yeah, just keep an
Yep.
eye on that stuff, and we'll bring you any updates as these shows fall. We'll bring you updates, and it'll be a part of our segment when stuff does hit. But is pretty much business as usual on the real estate and mortgage front for us with as far as this stuff's concerned. So, my 5 inexpensive ways to improve your home. And I say
Cool.
home, but some of these things they are home specific, but there are some that are you could use if you have an apartment or something, or nice living room area. There's a couple that'll apply to that as well. So, but I just put things. Some of these things are things that I've done. Some of these things
Mhm.
are things that I recommend people do before we list your house. Like these are, you know, I always tell my folks when I come to do a walkthrough and just kind of see what we need to do in order to list your house. I'm not looking to spend your money. My goal really is for you to keep as much money as you can in your pocket. And
Mhm.
so that's why I tell people don't do anything until I get a chance to see it, because chances are I'm probably going to tell you not to do some of the things that you think need to be done.
Yeah.
Um, if you'll get bang for your buck, sure, but if you won't, um, don't just assume that you need to replace all your floors or anything. Let me take a look and see. Maybe we could do carpet cleaning or in fact, one of the listings I have now, I referred them to my carpet cleaning guy, Carolina Quick Dry. A little plug. Um, he is great. He's done listings for me all over Columbia for as long as I've been in real estate. And he went to their house, and they had a specific area that they wanted done. He cleaned that area, and she said, "I wonder if he could do our couch also." I said, "I've never inquired about that, so ask them when you call." He came and did the couch, and just looked great. It smelled great. I just And she said, "I will never." So my client said, "I will never use anyone else other than them. They did such a good job." So I was able to report back to him like, "Dude, you made me look good," you know. So there's a chance that we could do something like that instead of spending money to replace carpet or replace floors. So this is kind of in that same vein. So all right, let's get started.
All right, sounds good.
And the first one's it's like one of my favorites, and it really, I mean, look at the lines on the landscaping on these houses. Just I
Yeah.
love how crisp that is, and very well done. Whether you like pine straw or mulch, that the small photo at the bottom with the pine straw, I think that looks equally great.
Mhm.
Um, I was told just this week actually that pine straw is actually going up in price. Bales of pine straw is actually going up. I don't know. Do y'all have a preference where you are? What you?
I don't see pine straw like as a decor. It's more so mulch or just like straight up bark.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so pine straw was a cheaper alternative, and it also the fluff. You can see how that bottom photo, it's kind of fluffed. It's really nicely done, and that I just love that. Whatever you use, I love that hard edge, that edge where it's
Mhm.
just we've outlined this area and it's just a really defined area. We see
Mhm.
it more here because of all the pine trees, I guess, but there was a time when you got a lot more bang for your buck because you could just go in and kind of refluff it and it would look fresh. Whereas the mulch might, get a hard rain, it might wash away, or you have some other issues with mulch. I have mulch at my house,
Mm.
but I tell folks, whatever is the least expensive option. But they also have, so it's just that clean look curb appeal. I mean, that photo with the house, I mean, it looks great even around the house where it's just very well manicured. It looks nice. It's
Mhm.
crisp. But you can do pine straw, you can do mulch. They also make rubber mulch
Hmm.
that doesn't. So if you find that, I don't know, maybe you use mulch and you're finding that maybe there's some critters in it or something, some little bugs or something that are, maybe you do the rubber mulch instead. It's a little more expensive, but you don't have those benefits, and you probably last a little bit longer with it being rubber. So first thing is just kind of tightening up that landscape a little bit, and it's a good easy way. The photos look great. All right,
Ah,
so
there we go.
front door makeover. So you can see the mulch at the bottom there. This is actually my front door.
Oh.
So So I used this disregard where I needed to trim the rose bush that's peeking through the railing there. But so the reason I wanted to show this photo is, yeah, I use like I've got some red mulch there. But so my door matched you can see the it's vinyl siding, and
Mm,
it's a very neutral color. It's like I don't know, maybe it's probably a little more beige than like say. I always thought it was a little greener before, maybe like a pale green, but it looks a little more uh, like a khaki or a beige or something. But I've got black shutters, and the door was black, so I got to looking around, and
hmm.
I was like, and it looks good if the shutters match the door. That's just like a pretty common thing. But I was like, what if I did the door a color that complements both? And you talk about a cheap way to and this is so when I spoke earlier about getting that sense of accomplishment from doing nothing, this when I pull up and I saw that new door, I was like, wow, it just looks great. And I've just had such a sense of achievement after doing
Yeah.
it. But I really like that color with the shutters and the siding color.
Hmm.
So think about like, okay, what's a complementary color? Introduce another color and put that in there. So that's just another cheap little. I mean, it took a small. I had paint left over in the small can that I bought, but I used like good quality Sherwin-Williams paint. And I specifically had this color. I saw it and I was like, man, that would really look good on my door. So I saw it and used that. So it's a good, cheap way. And, put a couple of coats on it, make it look nice. And it just gives you that pop without really, there again, not investing a lot of money. But what do you, when you said, here you go, have you thought about doing something different, or have you done something different with your exterior, like along these lines?
Yeah, no, I was gonna ask you after I answer your question. So we've been wanting to paint the door a different color. Um, I don't know if it's even been. I think it was just stained. I can't. No. It's my parents like stained it and then they painted it and then they just didn't like do anything to it. So it's really ugly, honestly. And I know you've always mentioned that like a very inexpensive way to make your house pop or where people see it if you're like listing it is to paint the front door. Um I really like so we're gonna do it, but I personally think the door design is very outdated, so I'm wondering like, okay, well, maybe if we just paint it, maybe it'll look different or whatever. I think I just want something a little more simple. But I was gonna ask you, did you did you end up doing like a paint stripper on the door before you painted it, or did you just paint over it and prime it and all that stuff?
So when I did the black, I just basically cleaned it, wiped it down real good
Mm,
a couple of
okay.
times.
Uh-huh.
Got because all the elements.
Right.
So this is and here's so I have a Charleston style house. So if you look at the top of that photo, you can see the bottom of my balcony that's right above that door. That
Hmm.
white trim is the floor of my balcony. So this
Okay.
door leads to when you open that, it's my porch,
Oh,
and
okay.
then my front door is there. So this is actually the door, the main door to my house, but it leads on to the porch.
I see.
But I just cleaned it, wiped it down real good, and I
Mm,
didn't prime it. I didn't do any of that stuff, and I think that's where a good quality paint can really save you some time without having to do that, especially if you're doing, and it would also depend on the color. If you were going to do it like
right.
a
Yeah.
lighter color, obviously um, you'd probably need to prime it. But I figured, hey, I was going to do it dark anyway, and so I just basically opened the door up and got to work. I didn't. I taped the handle, and that was really all I did.
Hmm.
So it was super easy. I mean, an afternoon, and I was done. So and I
Cool.
think I just set something up so the door wouldn't blow closed or anything while I was, working on it. But yeah,
Hmm.
it was a piece of cake, and
Yeah,
I
it's
was
rewarding
real.
too. It
Yeah,
looks really good, honestly.
yeah, I was playing. So I would just say, do y'all have shutters on your house or anything like that? I mean, are you trying to do similar thing where you match? Um,
Yeah, so we don't have we have shutters on one old window, but we'll probably replace that eventually because our other windows don't have shutters. They're like, um, yeah, I mean, my parents upgraded those windows like 6 years ago. They just never got to the main window. Um, so yeah, we won't. I don't know what we're gonna do. We'll probably do that door last, just because it's cold over here right now, and I think we want to like do it ourselves, that kind of thing. So we may do it this summer. We are gonna try. We're gonna attempt to sand the floors and refinish them a lighter color than they are now. But I think that front door is going to be like a summer project next year
yeah,
because, like you said, it's not too expensive, but it's like I feel like the return on investment is going to be like 25 fold. As
yeah.
far as like add some character to the home too. So
Before I did mine, we had some people move in across a young couple move in across the street from where I
mhm.
was, and my mom had stopped by and she was like, "Oh, I really like their door." And
Mhm.
they got in and they painted it, and it's one of those things that like people see it and they notice. It's just
Yeah.
oh wow, that's an interesting idea. So when it's less. I think it's less exciting if you have a black door that matches your black shutters when you introduce another color, and
Mhm.
or if the door, if it's a just make sure it complements whatever. What is your exterior finish on your house? Is it
It's like it's royal blue, not royal blue. I forgot the name of it exactly, but it's like a navy, like a dark navy blue.
and what's the material?
The siding, it's just
Like
like
vinyl siding or
no, it's not vinyl. It's like wood or
okay,
regular
okay.
siding.
Okay,
Yeah,
gotcha. Yeah.
yeah,
So then just yeah, so I would just look at some color palettes and see, oh, this
yeah,
color might look, just throw and it's so cheap, those small
yeah. The
I'm
small
sure you
guys,
could get a
the
really
little tiny
small,
guys,
yeah, a little
five
small
six bucks.
section and just try it. Yeah, test it out and see. But
Hmm.
yeah, it does a lot, man. It's one of the cheapest things you can do to get the most wow factor.
I'm sure. Yeah, I know it's awesome. All right, next one.
I forgot what all right, so the shutters, and this was just I did this just to I talked about it a little bit in the last one, but look at the difference. If you're no, it's probably more common in the South. I do like, sometimes houses look boxy if to me if they don't have shutters. There's certain
Hmm.
styles of houses that looks like a just a box. And then when but if your house has shutters and you haven't thought about redoing them, look at the difference in that photograph of how, like, just going over it and how faded. I mean, they're exposed to the sun, the wind, the rain, the cold, and just adding, reviving them with, by painting them, and they're actually fairly easy to like pop on and off.
Hmm.
So if you didn't want to replace them, uh, maybe there's a chance you might want to replace the style, and you could certainly do that. And that's something like if you didn't feel comfortable doing, if anybody's watching, you're like, I'd love to, they have like the old slotted, those really old timey looking,
Hmm.
like slotted, like it almost looks like louvers or something, like
Yeah.
slotted um, panels on it. If you wanted to replace it with something like this that has like a little more depth, a little more modern look to it, or there's a craftsman style shutter that really looks nice.
Hmm.
Really looks nice. If you want to do that, that's something a handyman could do for you. If you've got a good handyman who can do stuff, that's a good way to do. That's something I probably I wouldn't tackle trying to do that on my own. But if you're satisfied with the design of the shutters, think about revitalizing those and giving them some new life. And they're just like that door did. These would really make the house pop, really
Yeah.
stand out.
I like it. No, yeah. Um, it's funny how like a fresh coat of paint on anything, especially your house, will just. I mean, we repainted the house before my dad moved out or moved back home, and um, it's funny. People people were like, yeah, it looks like a different house. Like I was almost like missed your house because I didn't recognize the color, because we went from like almost this light green to this navy blue. And yeah, it's funny how much it changed the home and all that good stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah. Oh,
This
very
one I
cool.
really like.
Mm-hmm.
It adds so much. I mean, just like classing up the kitchen is a good place for it. I've seen people use this in other places, but
Mm-hmm.
it really looks good and it really adds a ton to the kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I started exploring a little bit, and this set was pretty highly rated, like 4.5 ish stars, four, maybe even higher than that,
Mm-hmm.
maybe 4.7, 4.8. So I always look for a good rating, but this is two sets of these wide, in the inset picture there at the bottom. It's two sets of these wide LED cabinets. They are, because the problem is that people see this stuff and they're like, yeah, but I mean, where you run do I have to get an electrician to run the stuff through the cabinet or whatever? These are actually rechargeable.
Mm-hmm.
So you can take, there's no cords. You just, if you're gonna, hey, we're having a dinner party on Friday, so let's charge the lights up, and have them ready. And but this I thought was really reasonable. It's two sets for $25.
That's
So
a
you
really
get
good deal.
both of those bars there for $25, and you can set them up. There's different settings. Um, Set them up where if you want to have it, like if you got a dark hallway and you got a child who ends up getting up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, you can set it up to where it's motion detected, so they'll
Yeah,
come
it's
on
cool.
when somebody comes. So but that photo, man, it really looks good in that photo where you've got them. I've seen them under the cabinets. They also kind of look cool if you have uh, cabinet, like the top of your cabinets, if there's a space between the cabinet and the
Mm,
ceiling, maybe even up there where you can put. They have some that are on like remote control. I don't remember if this one is remote,
yeah, I've seen that
but
too.
yeah,
Yeah.
where it just kind of gives some really nice depth to the. But again, just a cheap way to like, but it
Mm-hmm.
just looks uh like quality, like really nice, well done. It looks like it's a much more expensive kitchen to me because it was, you do these little things like this. So yeah. Do you
Um,
have anything like that?
well, no, it's funny you showed this because I was shopping for these at Home Depot the other day, and I saw a set of two for 14.99,
Oh
but
wow.
it was just two. Now, is this you get two packs, so four?
I think it's the two strips there. I think it's
Okay.
just those two strips. Now I don't know. Each one of those is 30 LED. Um, Closet light, wireless USB recharging. So that would be a good deal if they're good, if they're a good and I didn't look to see the dimensions, so I don't know if does one of those fit under one cabinet door.
Mm-hmm.
So in the photo there, would you need two under those two cabinets? Like would you need two there? But
Yeah.
even yeah, that price, I mean, that's were they set up similar to where you didn't have no wiring, no plug, that's what I
No,
hate, is the ones you have
you
to plug
just
in
stick
and
them in and all that, and yeah, it's just you just charge them. But well, I was actually looking for it for to put in a cabinet for my comic books, and then I also saw that I saw this on a YouTube short, um, and it kind of alludes to like what you were talking about with like the kids in the hallway. Um, People are putting it on their stairs. So at nighttime when they're going down the stairs, it was like, and this one girl, she had it like every other stair. So you wouldn't have to like buy like 17 of them or whatever.
right.
And then she did like, little like that, and it lit up. And I think hers were like controlled by her phone.
Huh.
So that I mean, they probably would have been more than just like the $24, but like, that was kind of cool to have if like, yeah, I'm about to go to bed, I'll set the lights to go for the next 6 hours or whatever, that
Yeah,
kind of
that's
thing.
cool.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
But that's very inexpensive, and yeah, it definitely does pop everything.
Right. And then lastly, just these are just like general accessories. So we've talked a lot about that. I mentioned in a previous episode, I really
Mhm.
like that agreeable gray, that muted kind of they call it grayish. It's like a beige gray, the wall color. So you've got
Mhm.
a nice neutral wall color. So how do you make it keep it from looking bland? And in both
Mhm.
these photos, I think they did a really good job of doing that. You do it with artwork, with the throw pillows in both illustrations, the artwork on the wall, the plants. So you can keep a really neutral color palette, and even the sofa is kind of like a beige sofa against a lighter wall. And even in the smaller photo, that's a kind of like a light gray with a light wall. So,
Mhm.
but they've used the pillows and artwork and the rugs and plants and all this stuff to introduce color without having to do like some crazy um my guy. So I listed the house of my carpet cleaning guy,
Mm.
um Carolina Quick Dry. They're not our sponsor yet, but I'm going to tell him that I mentioned him twice on here.
There you go.
But when we were getting ready to list their house, his wife loved vibrant colors, so there were some very vibrant colors in there, and he said, I mean, it's not my thing. He said it kind of looks like a Crayola box to me, and so this is a way to like introduce that color without having to paint like a because when people paint like an accent wall or a room that's a certain color, they don't think about when you're painting for the first time after you move into a place, you're not thinking like, well, I'm going to have to paint this when I leave because most people are not going to like this color. Or if you're there for a long enough time, it's not going to be in vogue to be a particular color for that long. So
Right.
that's why going with that neutral. And like I said, I'm a big fan of Sherwin-Williams makes a color called agreeable gray, and they do it in a new construction house. If you buy it here, every room is agreeable gray, and
Hmm.
this is how you can. I really that smaller photo is like a really modern kind of. It almost looks like a cool loft or something, um, where the kitchen is slightly separated by a half wall and the lights are cool. And but that's a but there's still new. Everything's still very neutral, and that's how you introduce color. Is get some, go to, it doesn't have to be anything extravagant. Go to, you can go to Hobby Lobby or World Market or wherever, and get some stuff. We have a place called Southeast Salvage here, and I just saw an ad in a magazine today, actually, where they're advertising, hey, if you get one to four, um, 1 to 4 throw pillows, they're $15 a piece. If you get 5 to, they've got this deal. So for, $15, you can throw some on your couch and just give that pop of color. And just, I just think it's really well done, but it's not like, over the top in your face way to introduce color to a room. So, what do you think?
I like your agreeable gray idea. I tend to go like so we're painting our downstairs doors gray and then white. So which is very different from I mean they're this I don't know if you can see, but they're basically this closet color,
Okay.
all of them. So that old school 70s kind of look. And they look really different now. It's weird to kind of go downstairs and see the difference of like, styles and whatnot. But my wife and I asked her, what color do you want the living room? And we were kind of just thinking about colors, and I was like, I'll just leave it up to you because I really don't know what to like do, what to do as far as that's concerned. But did say I do like that trend of I don't know what you call it exactly, but it's like where they have those sticks and like you just kind of line them up alongside the wall, and then you have like maybe 6 feet of them. I forgot what it's called exactly, but we want to do that, but do
Oh, is
kind of
it like where it's like, it's not really like shiplap, is it?
it's kind of like that, but skinnier.
So so you do it so it almost looks like the bottom half of the wall is like a wood treatment. but you're
Yeah.
really using the wall and just have those are ever so like distance apart, spaced
Yeah, they're
apart. So you got,
super close.
yeah, you
Right.
got one here and then you got one here, and they're spaced apart. So it looks like um it's not, and I've seen it's almost like when they do that, like a bead board or something, but you're actually
Yeah.
using the wall as there's no wood there, but it gives the illusion that you've
Right.
put this, framed, wall there. Yeah, I
Yeah.
like that. Yeah, I think that has like some really cool dimension there. I like that.
Yeah, and the reason I would want to do it is because there's parts of the wall that are like there's like either holes in it, or it's like it wasn't textured correctly, or there was like a repair something and it just looks ugly. And so versus instead of just painting it, we were gonna paint it, kind of half-ass, and then put up this schlap or whatever you want to call it. You can buy it at IKEA, but I found a DIY where you can just basically go to hardware store and buy the wood for cheap, and then just you got to put a little bit of extra work into it. And it's a little bit more custom, but I felt like it would be one of those things that like, oh, instead of spending $300, I could spend like maybe $50. You
Yeah.
know, it's gonna take a little bit of work, but I'm up for it. So,
Somebody told me last week they
mhm.
did a room where they did a wall with using pallet wood.
I've heard of that too. Yeah, I've
And
seen that.
so that you clean it real good, but then they took they had this tool where they um like charred part of it, like the
Yeah,
edges or something, kind of like,
yeah.
um and he showed me a picture of it. It looked really neat.
Hmm.
It was really cool, but it was more like a commercial set. I think it was a commercial building, a room in a commercial building. But I was like, that's something you could, if you had the right space, it's
Yeah,
something that would be really, really cool. But
and
yeah,
really good way to like kind of conserve like I bet that came out of like the cost of lumber being so high in 2021, 2022, that kind of
probably,
time. They're
yeah,
like, shoot, we might as well use this pallet board that's just going to go to waste because it's good wood. It has to be
yeah.
because you're putting stuff on it, right?
Yeah,
So
they just want you to like just get it off of off the property. Like it lot I'll see there like businesses that have signs up, pallets for free, and they'll
yeah,
just have a stack of pallets in the back of their parking lot, and you can just go get what you want.
yeah,
And who knew that it was going to become be a design trend?
yeah, and they
But
burn real nice too. If you if you need
yeah,
good firewood, they burn
there you
real nice.
go. Yeah, that's a
Yeah,
great idea. Yeah,
yeah,
that for that fire pit that we talked about last
yeah.
week.
There you go.
All right,
All right.
then yeah, just had I was just thinking about um I was getting a little sentimental, I guess, thinking about life and stuff. And and this is from Steve Jobs, have the courage to follow your heart and intuition. They somehow know what you truly want to become. So I just thought that was kind of interesting. I was thinking about, I don't know what made me think of this, but I followed my heart when this quote came to me. And
That was part of a speech he did at a university, like, about 6 months before he passed away, is that right?
I think so, yeah. Like,
Yeah,
yeah, their commencement, a commencement speech or something. I think so. Yeah.
yeah. I
Uh,
remember that speech, I watched it. This was,
well,
like,
he
in the
certainly lived that. I mean, just all the stuff that he was. I was really intrigued by him because I'm everything I have is Apple. Because
me too.
when I got out of my first career out of college was graphic design,
Mhm.
and it was unheard of to use anything other than Apple products for that stuff. So I've got a desktop. I'm on a MacBook Air now,
Mhm.
and I've got phones and iPads, and that's all I've ever had. And I've always been, no problem, buddy. We appreciate you, man.
Yeah, man,
You
don't worry
are
about it. It's all good.
Mr. Consistent, man. We
Yeah.
appreciate you being being around week in and week out.
Yeah,
So,
definitely. Thanks, Mike.
very yeah. But yeah, I thought that was Oh yeah, the Apple stuff. Just watching a documentary about him and how, he got let go and Apple just went downhill. And what does he do while he's doing that? He Pixar. He creates Pixar while he's gone. And
Yeah.
then, hey man, we sorry about that. We need you back. And he comes back and he's the savior of the company that he was let go from. So
Yeah, it's funny because he got let go, and then the company he started was called Next Computers, and that
yep.
was basically the first OS. And Apple bought the company, essentially buying him back, and that's how they reacquired Steve Jobs. And then the Johnny Ive stuff is really intriguing. If you're an Apple fan at all, Johnny Ive is like, I would say he's probably like the reason the iPhone looks the way it does, and he doesn't get enough credit for it, I believe. But
Does he have a documentary?
he doesn't have a documentary. I just follow a lot of his work. He's like an industrial
Cool.
design whiz, and he left the company to start his own kind of like consulting company. But he still consults with Apple. I think, but it's like any great purveyor of their craft. They want to create their own castle, right? Which is okay. But
Dude,
it kind of sucked when he left. But anyway,
that's smart on him though. I mean,
sure.
lock it in with one. I had lunch with a couple of my buddies from high school today, and one of them did the same thing. He worked for a railroad company
Mm,
and left to. He was like the vice president and left to start his own. He saw a need and left to start his own company to basically be a consultant for the company he just left.
mm-hmm.
So in a similar fashion, I was just really intrigued listening to him talk about, hey, us, seeing that need, because it's something where, and I guess that's where follow your heart and your intuition came from. It was just like hearing that story and thinking, how many people want that or
Mm-hmm.
wish that they had the guts to do something like that, but it's so we fall in love with the see our watchers, our viewers didn't realize we get so deep on Sunset to South, but we long to do it, but we fall in love with the comfort of things, like that's well, I would have to, what if I don't, it's all the what ifs. Like, what if I don't have any clients and I've just walked away from a vice president's job? Um, and it's just having that wherewithal to like take that leap.
Yeah.
So, yeah, if anybody out there is considering it, think about it. Yeah,
Yeah. And
everybody wants to, but that comfort is tough to let go of.
sometimes it's like, sometimes you follow your heart, it doesn't work out. And that kind of happened for me when I was trying to do the kind of family business, family practice deal. And I actually took a pay cut. So not only was I losing money, I was taking a pay, or I, got out of my comfort zone, figured I did not want to do it. And I don't regret it at all. It was a tough time for me personally as well. So sometimes it's almost gratifying to try it out, and when you have the opportunity in your life to do it, and then if it works out, great. If it doesn't, that's okay too. You can always go back to what you're doing and what you enjoy. And I think that sometimes it's like one of those, like, do you want to find out the grass is greener career wise or relationship wise, whatever. At least knowing that you tried is also like a victory, I think, in itself too, to get
Yeah,
more
because
to
who wants to sit on their you spend your last moments regretting having
yeah.
not when I've been divorced for a good while, and when I
Mhm.
got divorced, I was like, what's something I've always wanted to do, and it was take guitar lessons. So I bought a guitar. I went and took some lessons, started taking lessons, and I did that every week for like 9 months.
Mm.
And when I started, my plan was, maybe I'll do this. Maybe I'll do something with it. Maybe I'll do like sit on a stool at a coffee shop and play and, do something with it. And I realized once I got to the end, because I felt fulfilled even though I wasn't very good. I
Mhm.
felt fulfilled because I was like, okay, well, so my dream wasn't to sit at the coffee shop on a stool and play guitar. My dream was to take guitar lessons. And once I'd done that, once I'd accomplished that, then that was it. It wasn't I didn't know what the end product was going to be. So yeah, that sometimes those, but taking those chances and it taking that step might be exactly like what you're talking about. It showed you that was not your path, but you wouldn't have found the path if you wouldn't have taken that step. It redirected you. You got redirected by doing that. So I don't know. It's really intriguing to me that how life works out and how things work out for people. Yeah, you and I've talked backstage a lot about you wouldn't change situations you've been through because it shapes who you become. So
Right.
I'm just really fascinated by that stuff. Cool, man. Very cool.
Well, we thanks, Brad. Very enjoyable segment of yours as always. I won't be here next week. Brad, if you want to do a show, let me know. I can give you the password and stuff. But I'm going to be in Mexico on Monday, leaving on Monday, and then coming back on Saturday. We are starting the relaunch, I guess, of the old OTR show tomorrow,
And
6:30
what's
Pacific
the
time.
name again?
What did I call it? I don't even know what I called it. Oh, the Nameless Crew 2.0 is what we called it for now. So if you guys, I mean, everyone in the chat, I mean, you guys are in the Discord and all that. So we'd love to have everyone come through tomorrow at 6:30 Pacific time. We'll have almost everyone present tomorrow. Vinny will not be there, but I think he gave me some stuff to kind of go over at least. But we will have Marcus, 78 points, and possibly Ralph, which I think is good timing with the World Series starting the following day. So hope to see you there, Brad. Hope to see everyone in the chat. I do want to thank everyone for coming through. Please like, subscribe, all that good stuff. I think we had someone subscribe just while we were talking that just joined the Discord. So that's pretty cool.
Cool.
And yeah, I mean, love the participation. Please go ahead and ask questions too. It helps us kind of gather what information we need for the next upcoming show. And hopefully we'll see you guys very soon. Stay safe out there and have a good night.